Well, welcome back to You're Not Crazy Here. I am your host, Bubba Starts, and with me today is my friend Wolfgang. Wolfgang is an IT expert and an international squash player. Welcome to the show, Wolfgang.
Hi, Baba. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to our conversation here. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
I am completely honored to have you on here. We've connected through our mutual friend, Steve Favis, who put us in a signal group together online, and you've been sharing a lot of data and you've been sharing a lot of your personal research and research that you found out in the world with us there. And I absolutely had to have you on this show to share some of that with our listeners. So before we get into the weeds with a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about that's happening now, I want to know a little bit about you to establish a baseline and establish a relationship
Okay.
with you. So
Mhm.
why don't you start from your career, and then we'll get into the squash before we take it elsewhere.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk about all this stuff. Regarding my career, I worked for nearly 30 years as an IT infrastructure expert. Yeah. I worked in a large Austrian company, a very well-known company, which is structured and working internationally all over the world. That also helped me to develop my, let me say, some sort of global thinking and global understanding, and if necessary, also to act globally. Yeah. Um, I worked there from the end of the 80s with some pauses at two other companies, and I came back there in 1997, and then it went all the way along until 2014 or so, where some trouble started to shape up, and I just got the feeling from my heart and from my belly button that this will not go on forever, and I had to watch for something else. And my feeling was also that I had to leave. And it came like this. In the end, I left the company at the end of 2015. Yeah.
I mean, you took it through. I just want to cut you off there before we get too far away from it. I mean, you were there through the 80s and 90s, the explosion of the internet and technology and all of these things. You were right in the heart of it this entire time. And then by 2014, and not that we aren't technologically advancing still, right? Now it's all quantum computing and really going to that next exponential level. But you the reason that you probably started pulling away is as we moved into the social media, right? With social media taking over in 2008, I have to imagine that that started changing the IT world and everything as well, as it became less about technology, more about controlling information and keeping that from the public as everyone got connected. Is that fair?
I think I can absolutely agree to you. Yes, that's the way how it developed, and also my that had an effect on my passion for IT. It just started to decrease. Yeah. So from this point of view, everything went right. And when we come further on to the whole health topic, we'll see this confirmed. My direction, it went absolutely for me in the correct direction. Yes. So everything was fine so far, but at that point, I didn't feel very comfortable about it, to be honest.
Right. Well, and good for you being able to pull yourself away from the career that you had built when it was starting to take that turn. And I love how you said you felt it from your belly button. In the United States, we call it a gut feeling.
Okay, thank
But
you.
I kind of like it from the belly button, Wolfgang.
Okay.
That's so great. So you left in 2015, a full decade ago now, and gosh, we've been through a lot in this last decade, haven't we?
Yes, yes. We have. Things have changed absolutely enormously. Uh, if I would have, I just talked about it yesterday with my best friend. If we had tried to explain these things to some people, let's say 7 or 8 years ago, they would have directly called the police to catch us up. Yeah.
They would have called you crazy.
Totally crazy, totally insane, totally crazy. And what else they would have called us? I don't know. But it has developed in such a speed and such a tremendous way. So right now, I'm glad to be not in IT anymore and possibly to be able to help people around the world. Possibly, we'll see.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that you have all the skills still. You know, your skills, I'm sure, haven't diminished, and I hope that you've found ways to keep them sharp, right? Because you can't have a weapon or any kind of skill that it's going to dull over time if you don't use it, regardless of whether, you know, you're smacking it against the
I mean,
rock or not.
yes. Um, I would say, as an IT professional, you are called an information worker. Yeah. What do? You put together whole a lot of information, develop a picture out of it, and then out of the picture you develop actions. For example, projects where you change things. IT on a global level is always you're changing things all the time. Why? Because the environment around you is changing the whole time. So you have to be very flexible and you have to be able to digest a large amount of information. And then that benefited me most, and it still does, because I was able to, and we'll talk about it later, to develop a picture what the hell is going on here on Earth regarding health and other things. What's going on? What was that COVID stuff? What is this all about?
Yeah, we're going to touch on it all, Wolfgang. I tell you, no topic is off limits on this show, and we don't edit anything. I'm not here to get famous, Wolfgang. I'm here to save people's lives. And that's what we are all about. I want to touch on one thing before we get there. Is the Earth a globe?
Most probably, yes. But I think that's not, they threw that in at sometimes, and I thought about it and said, for the moment, does it change something or does it change anything? No.
No,
For the
and that's
moment, it doesn't matter if it's a
right.
globe or it's flat.
It's just one
So,
more
so
thing to
that there are
divide
so
us.
many other excuse me. There are so many other important topics right now we have to concentrate on, so that I, for myself, decided to put this away. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I just say it because the argument whenever you're in these conspiracy channels, right? It always comes back to that, and they want to harp on it and send me videos, and I'm like, I don't care. I care about the things of God, Wolfgang. To be perfectly honest, I am much more interested in the world of the spirit and how the physical things that are being done to us are affecting the human spirit, because I believe that when we save ourselves, we save the world. I say on my other show, Get Better
Yes.
Together, that
Yes.
this
Fully
is how
agree.
God is healing the world, is by healing each one of us through these conversations. And I know it to be true because my life is being changed through having conversations, mostly sharing my personal experiences of being a drug dealer, going to prison, living in a foreign country as an illegal alien. I spent a year in Mexico with no passport or visa, right? I kind of went the opposite way. But I've lived all of these experiences, which has made me very adept for this job, right? For this, what I'm doing now, God has been
Mhm.
preparing me for this moment. And in many ways, Wolfgang, God has been preparing you for this moment as well.
I absolutely see it in the same way God has prepared me to do my whole history. Everything comes together now. Everything.
So let's get into when you kind of started, when you left IT and you started to get more into, I know the health sector, and you had worked in the health sector, correct, with your IT job?
No, no, that was my IT job was in a company that is selling jewelry on a global base. Yeah, so I had nothing to do
That
with health there.
that makes a lot of sense being from
Yeah.
Austria.
But I was always very interested in being as healthy as possible and as fit as possible due to my, let me say, second career as an amateur squash player. Yeah. And let me say, my mother had a lot of influence on me because she started dealing around with organic food and this stuff already in the 1970s and 80s. And I realized I was interested in it. I was interested to know what she does there, did her know-how come from, why, what's the difference, and so on. So there everything started. And with this spirit, if you want, I decided to go into the medical direction after I left my IT job.
So was it a new career completely outside of the information and technology sector that you approached? Let's dig into that now.
Yes, yes, it was a completely new career. It was a complete. First of all, of course, I had to watch out for some education and training, and I decided to start a naturopathy study in Germany. But I also visited a lot of, let me say, individual courses at doctors and the German practitioners to develop my know-how further. And I read, I don't know how many books I read. Yeah. And so I started to develop my own picture how our human physiology is working. And that's very important because the picture paint on the, no, to say it with one blunt word, it's totally wrong. And of course, there's a sense behind that. Yeah, they exactly knew what they did there. But for me, I realized if I want to be able to help people to get their health back, I had to develop a different picture.
And
So
that's
I
exactly,
started that. I
yeah. And you,
started that journey in some started when I was still working. So I started in 2014, and then it went all the way through to today.
and
And
like
I
you
had
said,
my own practice then. Excuse me.
you're okay.
Should I go?
We're talking across the world, so don't worry about the slight delays in it. I just kind of was iterating that this journey started for you with your mother, right? You were already kind of in that space, and then you understood something about it before the big, push towards, the holistic thing really took off, because there is a very large machine that is pushing nothing but poison on us in every single way. And that's without getting into any conspiracies. Now the studies are coming out of the red dyes that they're using and the fluoride in our water and
Yes.
just the very basic level, and then the medications that they want to put anyone on without getting down the vaccine total hole. But when I was born in 86, we got the measles, mumps, diphtheria. We got the several ones, right, that we were told we needed, which we probably did in any way. But now what they're sticking all of these kids with is absolutely insane. None of it's being tested. None of it's being vetted. It's all reviewed, at least in the United States, by the companies that are selling it. It's insanity. It is absolute insanity that has been allowed
Absolutely.
to go on this long, and it's all because of the corruption of man. Because corrupt men and women in politics and business have decided that money was more important than human life. And that is absolutely disgusting to me.
I can only agree. It went step by step through the books that I was reading and through what I saw in my patients and their history within conventional medicine. uh, my whole picture was developing and converting and developing. And finally, I came to what you just described. Yes, it's disgusting and evil all around. It's nothing about health. It has nothing to do with health.
Well, right, because health is the reason it's holistic health is because it's a circle. You can't do one thing up here and expect it not to affect this down here, right? But medicine wants to treat everything as if it's a straight line. Oh no, you have this, well then just take this pill. Oh, and then that pill caused this thing, well then just take this pill. And then that pill causes this thing, well then just take that pill. At some point, human beings themselves have to wake up and go, enough is enough. Y'all are full of shit. You're full of shit. You're doing everything for $1. Your education is paid for by the same people that are pushing the drugs on us. And now, Wolfgang, thank God that we are in the time that we are in now, because it's all being exposed on the international stage for the whole world to see. And unfortunately, there are so many people whose brains have been rotted by this poison that can't even think clearly enough to make healthy decisions for themselves, because our bodies heal themselves. No medicine is going to heal you. It only provides the correct environment to begin healing. And most of them don't even do that.
Yes, correctly. Only your body can heal. Yeah, but sometimes, or especially, let me say, somehow I came to this really big topic of chronic disease. Yeah. And it's devastating how this, I think RFK Jr. did some interviews where he explained, yeah, when he was young, he had 3 vaccinations, and they had, in the US, you had about 5-6% adult people with chronic illness. Today, you have around 70% people at least having one chronic illness or disease. How can you be a successful nation with that? How can you be? There's no way, no way. Come, for all the people, wake up here.
And honestly,
The
Wolfgang,
nation which is sick.
right. And I didn't know because I quit my job in the factory last year. I started listening to a man named Andy Frisella. He has a podcast called Real AF on YouTube and elsewhere, andyfrisella.com. I'm going to shout him out every time because he changed my life. Because for the first time, someone was real with me. And he was already famous before he was already a famous podcaster before he went on this route. And they have a show called Cruise the Internet where they cover topics, and it's very topical. Yeah. And it's no frills, it's no bullshit, and it's a little raw, and it's totally unfiltered. And that's the way I want my information delivered now. I will make up my mind what to believe or what not to believe. No one else will tell me that, because I don't believe up here. No one believes up here. You believe in here, in your heart, or in your belly button for you, Wolfgang.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So you started on the journey. So you were reading lots of books, you were studying yourself, and then eventually you turned this into teaching others and helping others to get better. Is that correct?
No, I opened my own practice at home. Yeah, I had an own practice room and started treating people. I had not finished my study in Germany yet, but I was able to find something like a small, I don't know, is it called loophole? I don't know, that I still was able to open a naturopathic practice in Austria, because usually that's not possible. But I found a way, and I opened it, and I started treating people. And then, as it mostly happens in such situations, first you are highly motivated and you are full of power and full of energy. And then I started realizing, okay, there's a lot I don't know, because for many cases, I cannot help the people. And if I cannot help these people, really help them to bring them back to health, I cannot do my job further on, because I won't earn any money. And so one step comes after the next one. And that made me to dig in really deep, much deeper, and say, okay, how is the human physiology working? Because that biochemical machine that they are teaching, it's just a lie. It's a pure lie, and you can trace it back to the Flexner report. And that came out before the First World War. Before the First World War. And what did they do? At that time, there were a lot of homeopathic clinics or naturopathic clinics. Yeah.
Oh, they
And the
still
people
talked
had a
about the
much,
ether back
much
then, Wolfgang.
the doctors and therapists and so on, they had a much more holistic understanding of our human physiology, and they closed everything down. From then on, only biochemistry was valid, and the doctors and therapists who did not follow this, they all lost their licenses. Maybe that sounds familiar to you. Just
Yeah, well,
look at the COVID topic. The same was happening all over again.
and it's crazy that it's still the same people doing it, Wolfgang. It's still Rockefellers and Rothschilds, and it's still the same,
That's the
families
origin.
and
Exactly.
powerful people that are doing this. And not to take us down the, was Hitler right rabbit hole. Obviously your family and ancestry would have a much different relationship to it. But I think a lot of people are ignorant to the fact that when he started his push in politics, it was to get these banks out of the control system, right? Now, did he probably start doing way too much meth and get a little out of his head and cause the most insane atrocities? I'm not sure, right? But the story that I was fed at this point, I kind of know that it's not the whole truth, right? And I haven't gone down and I've started to listen to a podcast called Martyr Made, which is introducing me to a lot of these things, because in America, we don't receive that education. We have our education from the same people we're talking about that have been trying to kill us the whole time. It's crazy. It's crazy, Wolfgang. I'm 39 years old, sir. I'm 39 years old. I have been living in this matrix, right? This false reality for my entire life. And
Do you want to know how I call it?
What do you call it?
I call it, it's our big Truman Show. We are all living in a Truman Show. It's nothing else. Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I have to admit they did a good job there designing a world around us that does not exist. It's full of lies. It's nothing else. It's lies, 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 lies stacked together. It still works so far.
Right. Well, hey, for now, Wolfgang, for now, because it's guys like you and Steve Favis and some of Joshua Nelson's going to be on our program as well. He's in our group, and getting this information that we all know, these little bits that all of us know, to get this out here in this form, right? This is how messages are shared now. Thank God for platforms like Rumble, because this episode won't last 2 seconds on YouTube after I mentioned Hitler. And
of course not. And as we talked about vaccines and so on as well.
Right. Well, and for me, like, I'm not scared of it, because they all called me Hitler and Nazi for the last year through this election cycle. Anyone who was going to vote for Donald Trump in this country was a Nazi, was a racist, was Hitler himself. So what can you do to me? And this is where they kind of fucked up, Wolfgang, is that they abused the language and pushed everything so far that we all finally kind of snapped to and went, wait a minute, I'm not a Nazi. I'm not a racist. I'm not any of those things. And now your words on the global scale, they have no power, right? The words that you've used to shame us and to get others to do so has been exposed, and they have no power. Wolfgang, when I walk outside and I see those chemtrails being sprayed over my head, I say a simple prayer. I say, your poison has no power here. And I put both of my hands up and I wipe my sky clean. And that's the world that I choose to live in. And if it's working, I don't know. But I'm praying for more sunny days, Wolfgang.
Yeah, me too. That's a very important topic. We for sure come talk about later. Where have I been stuck? With yeah, this biochemical model, which is a lie, of course. And yeah, I am. It's a journey. It's a process. I'm of
Right.
course still in it, but it enabled me to see what's going on outside. By the way, I also studied meteorology for not very long, just 9 months or something like that. But that enabled me also to see something is wrong with our weather.
Yeah.
And that was in 2016, because we are living, as explained, I'm coming from Tyrol, yeah, and that's on the northern side of the Alps. And on the northern side of the Alps, you need the weather coming, let me say, from northwest or between north and west, that we get snow in the winter. Yeah, and it always did in the last years, in the years before. But starting on from 2016, the weather always comes from southwest. And I thought, how is that possible? And as a consequence, it's always warm in the winter, and we have no snow anymore. If you now watch pictures from where I come from and where my family is at home, it's green. And they only can still do some skiing due to making artificial snow. But otherwise, no skiing would be possible. And I asked myself, and I felt it again from my belly button and from my heart, this is not natural. Yeah. And so it goes. And so it goes.
I also grew up in the mountains, not as big as the Austrian Alps, obviously, but they're called the Black Hills of South Dakota. I don't know
Okay.
if you're familiar with HBO, but the HBO series Deadwood is about my hometown back in the founding of the
HBO,
town in the
no?
1800s. It was only on for 2 or 3 seasons, but it's how most people recognize the name of my hometown.
Okay.
We get over 250 inches of snow a year. At least we did historically. And even in the late 90s, when we moved out there, we would regularly get snowstorms of 3 to 6 feet of snow. I mean, a lot of snow, what you would be used to in your mountains, maybe not down in the valleys where the towns are, but our mountains, and we had the ski resorts and those things. Now, without the artificial snow, they have nothing. Now, I do believe some of this can be caused by natural phenomenon like the geomagnetic pole moving farther and farther north and driving our area farther south, right? I understand that, but I also understand that by using these, and I don't even know what chemicals they put in the sky, but by making artificial clouds that block out the sun in some areas and heat up other areas instead, that they can move the weather systems where they want them to go. Here in this state, at this time, they are calling for a bomb cyclone, is what they're calling it, to hit South
Okay.
Dakota right in my area. So it is going to be 75 and sunny where I'm at, and severe thunderstorms on the one side, tornadoes
Okay.
and such. And then on the other side, they're talking about a massive blizzard. If it hits the way that they say it's going to, it will shut the entire state down with massive, we get tornadoes, right, with the severe weather that they're talking about. It's going to have massive effects on not just the humans, but the livestock that are here. We have over 1 million cattle in South Dakota. We only have 800,000 people, right? So we're outmanned 2 to 1 by the cows. And we dealt with one about 10 years ago now called it was Winter Storm Atlas. They started naming them. That was the first one I'd ever heard named. And it was 75 and sunny the day before. And within a few hours, Wolfgang, it dropped over 6 feet of snow. I woke up in the morning, the sun was coming up, my backyard was barely dusted. And I was like, some storm, right? And I woke up several hours later, no power, no heat, and I had a chain link fence in my backyard. It was
Yeah.
completely leveled off. A 4 foot high,
Okay.
a 4 foot high chain link fence, and just a flat plane across it of wet, heavy snow. It killed 1 million cattle, right? When it hit the plains, it trapped all the cattle. They can't do anything. They huddle together, but to have that much on top, they suffocated. These cattle suffocated. It was horrific. And to watch all these ranchers have to go out and to clean these. I mean, they were cleaning them off the interstate, Wolfgang. They were, because the cows were just looking to get safe, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. And it was one of the saddest days, I think, in South Dakota. Just the loss of life. And I don't care that it's an animal. In our indigenous peoples here, they are Oglala Lakota Sioux, and they have a saying called Mitikuye Oyasi, and that means that we are all related. And they're not talking about just human to human like me and you. We are all the plant and animal nations, the bird nations, the plant nations, the mineral nations, and that all of these things have memory to them. So I think we felt on a statewide level, us humans felt that incredible loss of life, because to our ranchers, those cows are not only their livelihood. Some of these cows, especially the females that birth every year, they are in this family for some of them up to a decade. You have a relationship with that animal now. That animal is like your child or your best friend sometimes. And it was a very sad day. And I don't know it for certain, but it feels like one that was definitely not a natural occurrence, and not just a random coincidence of the perfect storm.
No, as you are describing it, it was definitely not natural. Definitely not.
And now they're calling for another one of similar stature, and I'm watching them spraying my skies. And I traveled to Iowa just a few days ago and watched them all day going over this. Wolfgang, it was 72 degrees here the other day. The sun is big and bright right now. It is absolutely bright. The trees are waking up. They're budding. The grass is starting to grow. We are ready for spring. And now these insane, evil people are trying to engineer something that will not just affect the human life, but the plant and animal life. We're getting ready to hit calving season. They're going to try to kill all these cattle to generate another food shortage. They did it with the birds and the bird flu and the poison that they spray on us with the birds. And then they kill all the chickens. The price of eggs goes through. Blame Trump. It's tariffs. It's this, it's that. No, you're all full of shit. You're all full of shit, and we know it. And that's what, not just this show, but our little group on Signal and these things, it's why it's so important for this information to get out. And whether we get 1 million views like Joe Rogan's podcast does, or it's just a couple hundred, it matters. People need to be prepared for this. They need to know the truth. And if nobody else is going to say it, by God, I will.
I will too.
Thank you.
As good as possible.
I can only share what I know. And that's why when we talked before the show, that I want you to stick to the things that you are confident in, right? We don't need to chase every rabbit hole down to prove our point. I think most people that are going to find this show on whatever platform are going to be far enough in their education to know the things that we are saying are true and are moving in the right direction. So, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now a little bit, but I wanted to share my story with you, because this is how we relate.
Thank you.
Not only are they, causing no snow in your area, it's happening to me too. My father-in-law, he's lived in South Dakota in the same town on the same farmland for 68 years. 68 years. And back in the day, right, they used to get the big storms, and then it would snow, and it would be the frozen tundra all winter long. Now we don't even have a winter, Wolfgang. We don't even have a winter. It gets cold for about 2 weeks in February. It might plummet with the polar vortex, they like to call it. All these different names they keep coming up with and bullshit. And it gets cold down into the negative 30s with wind chills to the negative 70s Fahrenheit. And then it's gone, and we return, and then they try to hit us with these big storms to just screw everything up. As the world and all of our plants are waking up, they hit us with one of these storms that shatters the cycle of life for some of these plants and animals. And it's disgusting. I don't know what other word to use.
It's exactly like that, and I came to the same conclusion more or less. One of their goals with all this stuff is to create food scarcity. That's one of their goals. Second goal, to create as much sickness as possible. And we will come about this in detail later. Yeah?
Well, we can get into that right now. I think we touched on the weather, and okay. I just keep getting worked up because even my children now, because I'm not going to lie to them. Those are not clouds. Those are chemtrails. Call them what they are. I think that's where it starts, right? Call them Absolutely. What they are. And we are not as unfortunate as those that live in California who get sprayed constantly, layers upon layers upon layers. But I watch them. I watch them spray, and then I watch these clouds form, and they're stealing my sunshine. And that's what I refuse to do. And that's why I choose to do the only thing in my power besides that's my power, to use my voice and to give others a voice, because this is how we break this cycle. And praying out loud that your poison will not work here. You will not poison my people. You will not block out my creator's son. You will not do this to me is the only choice that I have. And now every day I take a picture. Every single morning I walk my walk. I see them spraying my sky, and I take a picture, and I ask that my network of people in my community say the same prayer with me, that your poison will not work here.
Correct. That's a good point to start with. Very good point.
And unfortunately, so many people, especially we touched on COVID, and let's go there now, Wolfgang. Let's talk about the experimental. I'm not even going to call it a vaccine. It was an experimental drug.
It is not a vaccine.
It was a control mechanism. It is. I don't know what's in it. Maybe you do, and maybe we can start there. So talk about your experience because South Dakota, we didn't shut down. We did the 2 weeks to flatten the curve stuff. But after that, we opened up, and we didn't see the massive loss of life. We didn't see a lot of that stuff. Our governor, Kristi Noem, is now the head of DHS, I do believe.
DHS, I think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So she was our governor, and not that I agree with everything she's done. She spent a shitload of our tax money on getting her nails done and other things, but she's a politician like any of the rest of them. And she damn near went along with it too. And if not for the circle of President Trump and having some education to her to get her to go the other way, and I will not sit here and tell you that Trump is the savior of the world. He is just as corrupt and implicit in Israel, and maybe he's not into Ukraine and those things, we don't know. But his relationship with Israel is something that we need to keep a close eye on as well.
Yeah, and also his relationship to his Operation Warp Speed and the vaccines that this operation brought in, because I think it was in November where he still expressed once again how many millions of lives he saved with the vaccine and so on and so forth. Really? What about reading the statistics? Is that right. So hard?
They're so disgusting. I mean, the stuff that's coming out about...
I'm sorry for speaking this out, but I think it's a very important point. And for myself, I have lost all my trust in any politician, period.
No doubt.
I'm
fairly
open for
confident.
a positive surprise. Let's name it like this. I'm definitely open, but for now, I have lost all my trust, period.
No, and I know that if we would have gotten the other side of the ticket this year in the United States, that even what we're seeing now, it would have been accelerated 100 times faster than what's going on now. Half the damn country here in the United States is on fire, and it looks like most of the world. Africa is on fire. China, Japan is on fire now. These are not, this doesn't happen. The apocalypse is man-made. They made up the story, and now they are playing it out, and they've convinced so many of these people that we have no power of this, that it is of God. Bullshit. You created the story, you've perpetuated the lie, and it may be the apocalypse, but it will not be the end of me and my people. It will be the end of this system of control that has been perpetuated for probably thousands of years, Wolfgang, but at least the last 100 and some years, like you said, pre-World War I.
I think this is some kind of a, I mean, if we talk about this, just a few words here. We are talking about negative things. Unfortunately, we have to, because if we are not aware what's going on outside, how should we deal with it? How should we succeed in the future? So we have to take a look on these things, name them as they are, but then direct our spirit into a prosperous future. So despite all these negative stuff, it's very important to still think positive. Okay? That's what I also want to suggest to all the viewers of this video. Yes, we are talking about a lot of negative stuff, but it's happening, and to do it like this will only make it worse. Yeah? So we have to talk about it, we have to make our picture out of it, and then we have to take action. Otherwise, it will be very hard to change things. Okay? So still use your spirit and stay positive. Okay.
And that's, I pray. I have an altar here in mine, and I am, while I believe in the teachings of Jesus and the gospel of some of the, his disciples and what they shared, I believe a lot deeper things about Jesus, that not only that he wasn't the savior. He was trying to wake us up to the fact that we are our own saviors. We can save ourselves.
We have all the power. We have all the power we need. We just have to start being aware of it and start using it. And the more people this do, the better it will get. But to be honest as well, I think it's possible to turn it around, but it will be hard work.
Wolfgang, give me some insight into how you think we can go. I want to end on a positive note, and I'd like to spend the last bit of our time together today on what is our path forward. I think by this time, anyone listening to this that has gotten this far believes the same as we do. Otherwise, they would just shut it all off. And if you want to go down any of these rabbit holes, you can go chase that on your own. But exactly what Wolfgang just said is what I'm all about. How do we fix it? I'm not here to argue about what conspiracy is true and what's not. The fact is, it's been happening. It is happening currently, and it is accelerated to a level that we have never seen in our history here. So what can we do as individuals every day to continue to perpetuate the positive change needed to pull ourselves out of this and to conquer this evil?
Well, first of all, that is my special perspective. I think we have to be aware what's coming down of our skies, what it does to the people, and how we can at least start healing it. We cannot heal the planet if 70 or 80% of the people are sick. How should it work out? So I hate to say that, but they are doing good work there for the moment, because nobody is seeing what's going on there.
It's a silent genocide. And now
Yes.
people are
Yes.
dropping dead. Oh, sudden death. Oh, now everyone has cancer and this and
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, very few people are going, well, I wonder if that was the freaking billions of shots that they jabbed in everyone's arm for 4 or 5 years now.
So I thought about it a lot. So let's put that health topic for the moment aside. What can every individual do? How can we stop this? Hmm. I see, to be honest, right now, and this is also developing, but right now I see only one way. They are destroying the order. That's what they do, but they are destroying it slowly and in a controlled way. They need to control everything. Also, what's going on the financial markets. They control everything. Everything. So, what can we do to bring it out of control? Because sometimes I think you can only fight a fire with another fire. Sometimes that's the only way. And that again, that comes out of my spirit, out of my heart, and out of my belly button. Yeah. Um, I think the only way is we have to stop working and have to stop paying taxes.
Because it
And
feeds the machine. We are
it
feeding to our
we
own
we feed
destruction.
the machine and we keep the order going because everyone wants to keep his order alive because it's his you earn money from it, and of course everybody wants to stay in order and go to work every day and do this and that and go to cinema in the weekend and so on. If this goes further, and just look to Europe, they are all heading for an all-out war with Russia. Of course, they are being told to do this by their masters. Yeah, of course. The same people all around, and it's the same setup than in the Second World War. It's the same setup than in the financial crisis of 2008, and all along, same setup. Are we really going down the same route again? If we keep the order, they will do it. They'll print their 800 billions of euros and in going to invest it into weapons. What will happen? We'll have hyperinflation. And then things are going away anyway. Anyway, so I see two ways today. It's going down their route. And where do we end? You will own nothing and you will be happy.
Our old
Yeah.
friend Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, he has been replaced by Larry Fink.
Oh, welcome to the show, Larry.
Welcome. He has been replaced by Larry Fink, as far as I know. And I got this knowledge from a German investigative journalist who wrote a book about the WEF. So he has very good knowledge there. He's also on YouTube, and he has his own show. His name is Ernst Wolf, and he reported it just a few days ago. So Larry Fink seems to be one of the most important people right now, it seems. So,
Good. Well, let's put
that's what
Larry on notice, Wolfgang. And Larry, we know who you are. We're putting you on blast right away, and we're not falling for it. And you touched on such a great thing. So I had kind of pulled myself out of that Truman Show. Right. I stopped going to work last year. And granted, I took on a bunch of credit card debt. That's all fake too. It's all digital fake currency. It means nothing to anyone. And I'm not going to go to work for a menial dollar amount per hour to feed that system anymore. And in fact, with our American tax system the way it is currently, I paid almost zero taxes all year and then got some money back from them. So I kind of screwed the system over a little bit. I'm hoping that our president and this political movement does what they said they're going to do, and to get rid of our Internal Revenue Service that is not even our own government, the Federal Reserve, and like you said, cut off the money. Cut off the that's the blood, right? That is their blood system. And we need to cut that off first. And that will be the first sign.
Of course, also I mean, inform as much people as possible. People will slowly wake up. We will be slowly getting more and more. I still have the feeling it's too slow, but that's just my perspective. I don't know.
How do we make it go viral, Wolfgang? That's the real question. How do we make this movement and this knowledge and all of these things? And maybe it's through shows like this and more conversations like this, but that's what we need. If all of these people can get famous on TikTok and to get millions and millions of views and to dumb down our entire world in that way, there has to be a way for this message to get out. And maybe it's only through God that happens.
Yeah, to be honest, for the moment, I'm not sure. As long as enough people still can go down the route of the old life, still keeping everything in order, even if it's already crumbling and they realize it's starting to crumble, nothing will change. If it's starting to crumble more, then we have better chances. But of course, the other side is also closely watching this. And now, of course, I have to speculate. I think the decisive thing here is the financial system. Once this starts crumbling down for everybody, that the masses to recognize that, then we also have better chances. But maybe it's too late then. I don't know. I'm sorry. For now, we can just proceed the work you are doing. Thank you for that. But there will be chances coming up. You said cut off the money, cut off the Fed. I posted a very interesting video today in our Signal group. The Fed is one level down. There's another bank above, and that's the BIS in Basel, in Switzerland, the Bank of International Settlements. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So the Fed is not on top. It's the BIS, and I don't think you will see Donald Trump doing anything against the BIS. I can't imagine. Never ever. And in the BIS, whom did they sponsor? They also sponsored in World War II. They sponsored the US and Hitler. They sponsored the UK and Hitler. You see how this is working? You know all of this, but
well, they keep it, right? They fund both sides to keep the system going because war is a big part of their plan because it kills all of our young men. It keeps everyone poor because it creates hyperinflation because we keep spending money on weapons and not on life. We keep spending money on death and instruments of death instead of instruments of life.
Yes, it's their agenda was and always has been very destructive.
God, look at Gaza. Look at what's been done there. It's just horrible.
It's so horrible.
I haven't followed it closely. I'm not on TikTok. I missed the boat on that because I already consume too much social media. I'm very fortunate in South Dakota to be fairly isolated from the major city centers, right? I mean, it takes me a half an hour to get to a town that has more than 1,000 people.
Okay, I see.
So we are very rural, but we're also very lucky that a lot of us have our own home gardens and we grow our own food and we raise our own cattle and we feed ourselves. And I think that's the way out of this. That's the only way that we stay home, stop going to work, grow our own food, and remove ourselves completely from this thing. But how do you change someone's mentality when that's been all they've known and all they've been taught by their parents, and their grandparents taught their parents, and their great-grandparents taught their grandparents, right? Like, how do you break this generational curse that has been perpetuated for the last 100 years or more?
It's maybe not mentality, it's consciousness. It's consciousness, and consciousness will or is constantly changing. Why? Because I mean that's the big picture all around. The universe is based on energy and information, and so are we humans. Energy and information controls the biochemistry. That's it. That's the most important thing you have to know. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but that's the most important thing. So, our solar system, that means our sun and all the planets, we are traveling through our galaxy right now with enormous speed. Yeah, I know I would have to recheck, but I think it's millions of kilometers each day. And different energies start to come in. And these different energies, they change our consciousness. And they could only do this, what they did to us, because we had not the consciousness for it. And this is now changing. So there is light on the horizon, and more people will start to wake up, and they will do everything to prevent this with their technical advantage they have. We'll see how this evolves, but my
This is a book by that was brought to us from the stars. This knowledge they call star knowledge. I am friends with a woman, my friend Nikki. Her father was Chief Golden Light Eagle, and he delivered these messages through conferences. This is the universal and spiritual laws of Creator. This is the first book. This is the 1111 series. The next series is 1212 that I have not received yet, but maybe that's a tomorrow problem. Today's only the 11th. And then the last book is the 1313 lessons, and they have opened up a Patreon channel that they are sharing these messages. Her father, Chief Golden Light Eagle, was delivering these messages on video. He was on that show on the History Channel, Ancient Aliens. He had been featured on there. There was a metal bar that was delivered with these symbols on them.
Okay.
And this was known to be sent from the stars. This book covers the archangels. It has the information of the archangels. It has the informations of so many of these other energies. And it's exactly everything that you just said, Wolfgang. And I do believe that this has changed my consciousness. Reading these words, it connected to something inside of me. It unlocked that memory. And it's why I pray every day. It is why I go to the hill and pray, as they say here. And I go into Sweat Lodge and I seek inside of myself for the information that's necessary to enact the change, not just in my life, but in the entire world around me. And I think by exactly what you said, raising our consciousness on the personal level, that is what is going to change us. Elevating through our 33 vertebrae and bringing that alignment through the chakras and aligning to that higher self that is above us. That is the way that we are going to heal this. And it is why I've started to ask people to pray with me. And not that I am claiming to be above you as some priest in a church building somewhere. No, I'm just trying to bring you up to this level of consciousness that I have been brought to through the things that I have learned and how I'm healing myself, my relationship with my wife and my children and my family, and how I am doing that and how that affects every single thing on this planet around me. And that is why I have another show called Get Better Together, which I would love to have you on that as well, because I know that is how we are healing. And that show has a much larger reach than this one because of the things that I choose to talk to here on this Patriot Broadcasting Network. But Wolfgang, we are going to have another conversation, and we're going to dig into the positive energy and how we're actually going to affect that change.
I thought about it. Maybe just a few more minutes. Is this okay?
Oh yeah. Go. I wasn't cutting you off.
Let's just think, how do they dominate us in the moment? And there's three, let's call them three big topics or regions. First of all, of course, that's that financial side. What can we do there? We can do something. We can go into gold and silver, especially silver. Yeah, very important right now. I do not explain why, but it's very important. We can also create local and regional currencies. Yeah, you have a very good system in the US that I like. That's called the gold back. Do you know it?
A few of them. I'm not fully aware.
That's
So
just that's also printed money, but it has real gold in it. That's a very good combination, I find. And we have to get rid of these big central systems. Yeah, we have to go back to local and regional solutions. Yeah, money-wise, this means gold and silver. This means solutions like gold back, and yeah, possibly also, let me say, some selected cryptocurrencies. Although we have to be careful there. Yeah,
well,
because
because it seems too easy to just whoop, and there went all the money.
it's manipulated from the front to the back. So you have to. I also lost money in the past months because I'm invested there. But from a personal perspective, there's some freedom available here, and that's what I was looking. I don't like to be in a jail. Ah, I hate it.
I did 2 years in prison, Wolfgang, for selling pot.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that was the financial sides. Yeah. Gold and silver, uh, gold backs and solutions like that. Maybe a few Bitcoins, something like that. Or but only on your private wallet, private hardware wallet. Yeah. Okay. That's the. Then you have the health topic. What can you? This is the most complicated topic for all people because how to get back healthy if everyone is sick. I have a solution here that I can at least share. I mean, it's dangerous. What we are talking about is dangerous anyway. So let's talk
Wolfgang,
about it.
if they wanted to end us, they would have already, probably. I don't think this show is going to
Uh,
have any effect.
there's something in between. I'm under attack for more than 10 years now, and I nearly lost my life. I just collapsed last October, and I'm still very sick. So they don't like me. They don't like me at
I
all.
can only imagine why, sir.
Uh, the solution is to start using a good frequency device on your own with good rife frequencies. That's the way you can start becoming. You can do a lot of other stuff around what has already worked for you, but depending on the level of health topics you have, this is probably the only one that is getting you out there. Okay, you need some additional know-how. It's not that easy. It's a lot of work. It needs some dedication, but the time where you can go to the doctor and get a pill and that pill heals you, it's over. It's already over. The people just don't know it. And why? That's due to the stuff that they are spraying. It's over. They know it. And you know what their solution is? Your president stated it together with Larry Ellison. They want to get rid of the doctors and manage everything via AI and their so-called vaccines. And that's the vaccines are a brain to AI interface. That's it. It's a brain to AI interface. This is the part you'll be happy.
The nanoparticles, right? People don't know what they're putting in their bodies.
That's nanorobots. It's robots, and they start growing a network inside of you, a network out of plastics. And with this network and the micro and nano antennas that's inside you, they can control you. They can. So I know that sounds horrible, but that's the way they want to go. So
Exactly why you have the 5G microwave towers layered everywhere around the world. And that's
exactly.
and that was it was a twofold thing, right? The 5G is not on its own necessarily. While it's not good, it's not the whole picture. The picture was these fucking jabs, man. these vaccines that they keep feeding us, and it's twofold. And
it's the
now they've
combination.
created their own army. Is that not where this is going? That they've created through these two manipulations, and I'm sure there's more that I'm not aware of, but that now they can manipulate you at the cellular level to
Yes.
control you physically.
That's what they want to do. They want to suck up everything you own. That means you will own nothing. And then they want to control you, to make a cyborg out of us. This is what they want to do. That's their plan. And they will not like us, both of us, to talk about it here openly. They will not like us. Yeah. Very important connection here between, you are right, 5G is an absolute, it's a must-have requirement for them. Yeah. And COVID was a cover-up for the rollout of 5G because they did not know, installing all these 5G towers in the big cities, how that would work out and which effect that would have on the population. They killed people with that. A lot of people died due to 5G, but of course, so they had the possibility to hide that behind the so-called
Died from
virus
COVID.
pandemic.
Died from COVID. Died from COVID.
So COVID was nothing else than spraying toxins from the air, some special toxins, and activating 5G. Here you are. It's absolutely evil. I know. That's why before I reminded everybody to stay, just look at it and take whatever you need out of it.
While I have you here, Wolfgang, is there anything, I mean, because unfortunately what's going to happen is a lot of these people took the vaccine and now are waking up to this, and these things are living and growing inside of them, right?
Yes.
They are there. What can we do to detox ourselves from this? They're spraying it from the air too. There's no doubt that we're ingesting the nanoparticles and the nanorobots just by breathing the air. So how can we start to detox ourselves from these nanobots?
The person to look at here is Dr. Anna Maria Maihalchia. She's located in Florida. She has her own Substack. The only problem with her is she's very knowledgeable. The only problem is I absolutely appreciate what she's doing, not to get this wrong here, yeah? But she's putting out so much information, I even can't read it or that. But I think I got the most important points of it, out of it. She has also listed all the patents, and she's constantly showing live blood analysis also of unvaccinated people. And out of her pictures and videos of live blood analysis, we see clearly that it's spreading everywhere. Exactly as you said, this is what they spray into the sky every day. So how can we detox? There is a possibility. You need higher doses. The best thing is you need higher doses of vitamin C, and you need liposomal EDTA. Best is from Dr. Ed Group. Okay? This is no advertisement here, but I like the spirit of Dr. Ed Group. I like his spirit. Okay? And he's making great products, and I'm also using them in my practice. But it's not an advertisement. And so the combination of, let me say, as much vitamin C as you can tolerate, that differs from person to person. If you take it orally, it's, let me say, something between 4 and 8 grams a day. And here I have to divide it to 2 or 3 portions. And then you take the liposomal EDTA. And that exactly detoxes all this stuff and cleans your blood. And for control purposes, you should search out for a therapist or a doctor who does live blood analysis. So you can see, are you succeeding or not? But this works. And what is better working if you get infusions of vitamin C and EDTA. But there you need a doctor to do that. Okay, I cannot do that either.
Well, we're going to need to find some good doctors, and to find some good doctors locally. I'm very blessed to live in a small town where we have
You,
doctors that will listen to us and are honest with us.
they will also raise their consciousness. They will develop, and not too far in the future, they'll have to make a decision which path they want to go. Do they want to stay on the old path or go to a new path? And this will also be very decisive. But to bring it back, we have the financial stuff we talked about. We have the health stuff. So I recommend frequency device plus the detox you now mentioned and we came to.
Can we use, so I listen, I have my frequencies on in the background almost all the time, 1111 hertz, and I have a lot of, the 369 and 936 and a lot of these other frequencies. Is that enough to have some of these just on a YouTube level coming through speakers, whether it's in your earbuds or it's on, my sound system here? Is that good enough, or do we need something more than that?
What does your heart tell you, or your belly button?
Tells me that I feel a lot better now than I did a year ago.
So
Wolfgang, I'm a songwriter.
I can.
I'm a songwriter and musician, so I know the power that music and vibration has on us, and I want to be able to. I mean, I got a big sound system right behind me, buddy. I got a couple thousand watts of sound back here. Do I just need to plug it in outside and be running frequencies on my loudspeakers throughout my town?
So you also know about the change of the pitch frequency. They made from 432 to 440 hertz.
Yes.
And this is a big change. Why they want 432 hertz is of course a positive frequency, and 440 hertz, of course, it is not. Yeah.
Dissonant.
If you ask me, for now, I think it's sufficient for you. You're doing very well with this stuff. You don't need more. That's what I can feel. Yeah.
Well, if you can feel it from South Dakota to Austria, then I feel pretty good about where I'm going and why we need to just keep doing what we're doing. Did you have anything more to share on that topic before we get out of here? Because we're coming back. Wolfgang, me and you are going to maybe start doing this weekly.
For now, we have already covered a lot anyway.
Clean water, folks. Clean water. And start taking care of your bodies. I think that's the key. I mentioned Andy Frisella earlier. Something he says every day is the ultimate form of rebellion is personal excellence. So get in the gym, start taking care of your body, start being physically active, start putting good stuff in your body and not the bad stuff. That includes all of the medicine. That includes everything that you eat. Grow your own food this year. Be active in your life, and you will start to break free from this Truman Show, from this matrix that we have been trapped in, and unplug yourself from the nonsense that has been perpetuated upon us for more than a century and probably for several centuries.
Yes. I came back to the year with my research to the year 1356. In this year, it was called the Golden Bull. They signed the Golden Bull. That was a new contract that they signed, and they signed it in Nuremberg, in Germany. Who made Nuremberg being the place where he held his how does one say, where his party where a political party comes together once a year? How is this called? Convention. I think it's convention.
Convention. Yeah. Yep.
Who held his convention once a year in Nuremberg? Adolf Hitler. Due to this Golden Bull contract that they signed there in 1356. And if you count 1356 plus 666, you come out where? You come exactly out in 2022. And in 2022, the war in Ukraine started. And that basically is the ignition, and now we can see it shaping up more and more. That was the ignition for their planned Third World War.
Well, we are not going to let that happen, Wolfgang. I refuse to give in to this and to be pulled into another cycle of death and destruction. And I'm going to do everything in my power with my voice to perpetuate life and to bring life back to this planet and to our universe and our solar system as a whole, and to wake this entire planet back up. And unfortunately, I think that's going to come along with a lot of death and destruction as the old ways and the people that are clinging to that perish away, for us to be reborn and to be brought into this new life. I hope that I'm wrong in that and that we're not, but we're already seeing Christians being persecuted around the planet right now. I saw some absolutely gruesome and disgusting things on my Instagram yesterday, and it's why I'm praying even harder, and why I'm inviting everyone else to pray with us, and why I'm inviting you, Wolfgang, and all of our listeners to pray that same thing, that they're poison in every way, not just in the sky, but inside of our bodies now, that it does not work here, and it will not work here. And I'm starting there.
At least it will not work as intended.
Exactly. Wolfgang, thanks for a beautiful conversation. We're going to get on and we're going to do more of this. And I think what we're going to do, we're going to focus on the positivity and helping people get better and heal themselves. And we're going to talk less about all the conspiracy facts that we covered today, because we've talked about it already. We will always continue to reference this episode for people that need to be educated. But our education purpose now, Wolfgang, is going to be solely focused on detoxing our bodies from the chemicals that they've put inside of us, and how we continue to get stronger and to fight back against this system of control.
Yes, I'm glad if I can help, really. And I thank you for the possibility to speak up here. Thank you very much.
You've done a great deal to help already today, Wolfgang, and being a voice, because I'm not educated, right? I am not. I was in prison 7 years ago, Wolfgang, and now God has given me this voice to be a power on this planet at this time. We were made for this moment, and I've never been more sure of that than in the last hour and a half that you and I have spent talking. So thank you so much for your time today and for your time in the future, because this is hardly the end of what we have begun. This is just the beginning. So thank you, Wolfgang, and I hope you have an incredible evening where you are. And I'm going to go and get into that sunshine and to pray really hard for the future of humanity.
Thank you very much. All the best for you. And hope we can come back to this and continue.
And you as well. And for all of our listeners, we promise you, you're not crazy here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scene Projects Podcast Network. We appreciate you listening. You can find more at thesceneprojects.com. Join our community.
Got an ocean full of love that's made for two. We can sail upon the ocean breeze, and sunshine feels like you loving me. We got a good thing going on, you know that's true. I'm feeling fine, fine, fine. Boy, you love on me like wine. Fill me up, let me take a sip from your loving cup. Feeling fine, 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 fine. Boy, you love on me like wine.
The following program is part of the Patriot Broadcasting Project, brought to you by the Scene Projects Podcast Network.